session, I'm going to teach a research report in detail, which also classify that what was exactly how to prepare the report in detail, what was the citation, how the bibliographies and references, what are the references styles, all that particular topics will be covered in this session. So let's begin with the meaning, that is research report. So what is research report exactly, or what is the exact meaning of such term? Research report is basically presented in a very formal manner or in a written form only, which should be a very tight manner. So in practical scenario, in a particular research study, it's mainly dependent or it's mainly presented on the basis of the research findings, on the basis of the research investigations, what was the exact objectives a researcher is willing to fulfill in his particular study. So research report is a written document which contains a very detailed, you can see the aspect of the research project and what the researcher is actually portraying in his particular research project. So in other words, we can say the research report is a medium to communicate the research work with the relevant people or with the readers as well. So it is a good source of preservation of research work for the future reference. In fact, the researchers and the readers also get a good opportunity to save and to use such research work for their future references in or her research projects. So whatever the findings which has been come from the research projects that can be used in the upcoming research work or upcoming current study. So the preparation of the research report, it's not an easy task actually. So it is an art to prepare by the researcher or an individuals. So it requires a good deal of the knowledge, imagination, as well as the experience and the expertise of the subject area. And it also includes the time and money as well. So in journal, a research report is a document which has been prepared by the analyst or any strategist who is also part of the investment research team in a particular stock brokerage or an investment bank. So that would be an example that a particular researcher is also making a research report on an investment approach team in a stock a related company or any of the investment banks. So if it's a great deal of you can see a knowledge and imagination, the ideas or whatever the experience and the expertise of the subject area that will be used in preparing the research report. So in the various, you can see scenario, the even the definition has also been has been defined in simple words, or it's exactly what the research report is called for. So research report is a very systematic, articulated, orderly presentation of the research work in a written form. So it's a very simple words that it is a process of preparing the report in a very systematic, articulated, orderly manner, and it should be in a written form. Let's talk about the characteristics of a good report. The particular you can see the good report is basically based on 11 parameters. The first one is simplicity. The language in the research report should be simple as possible so that a particular readers or individuals or a researcher can easily understand. So whatever the technical words or jargons words which will be used in the report should be avoided. Even in the technical terms also, or in the technical reports also, the technical words which is very difficult to understand by the readers should be restricted. Let's second is clarity. The language should be very clear, very logic, and very straight. It's a very, you can say, in a very expressive manner, which is very easy to understand by the readers. And the report should be in a written form and following the whatever the correct procedure and the correct steps need to be followed. Its next one is brevity. The report shall not be unnecessarily long. So what it is also a test of a patience of a reader that it will not get lost or no confusion of ideas should be involved in a particular research work. At the same time, the research should be complete as it's not an essay. So it take a long period of time, which should, should be completed on time. The next one is positivity. As the possible, you can say positive statements should also be made instead of negative statements. For example, it is better to say that it should be done or what has to be done and what has not to be done in a particular research work. Punctuation. Punctuation has to be used very carefully, correctly, otherwise whatever the meaning or the sentences might be or maybe misunderstood and misrepresented in the research work. The next one is approach. There are two types of approach to be should be followed in a particular report. The first one is person. It means when a report is in the written format based on the personal inquiry or the personal observation, then this approach should be personal, and whatever the sentences shall be used, it should be in a first person and in a the direct speech would be used. The second approach is impersonal, when the report is presented or a source of information or which is mainly based on the facts, which have shows a meaningful conclusions or a meaningful evidence. And such approach is called impersonal, and the sentences should be in a third person and should follow an indirect speech. The next is readability. The whatever the keynotes has been used in a particular report must be readable. So the style, it depends upon the style of the presentation and the directions, that is the use of the word shall be such that the readers should find it attractive and appealing and read the report from the beginning to end. So a researcher has to make such a report that such a report that it should be appealing and attractive and the reader can easily read the report from beginning to end. Then the purpose of its in a report. Next one is accuracy. The report should be accurate, so what the facts are actually stated in it. It shall not be based on a particular researcher personal feelings or a personal experience. The next one is logical sequence. So the points and the sequence of a report shall be arranged with the logical sequence. Whatever the steps has been followed it should be followed accurately and it not to be haphazard manner. So whatever the researcher should plan, it should be in an accurate manner. So when the planning is also necessary before a particular report is to be prepared. The next one is proper form. A report must be in a proper form. Sometimes there is statutory forms which has to follow. The next one is presentation, which is the last, you can see the characteristic of a good report. A report needs to be an attractive presentation and it depends upon the quality of typing or printing, as well as the quality of a paper that being used by a researcher, especially when the big companies make very attractive and very colorful annual reports. The diagrams, the bar chart will be clearly defined and presented in her presentation. So that is the you can see the last characteristic or a feature of a good report. Let's come to the principles of a good research report. The first point is sub activeness. It is very important, and you can see important point which is all known only, and only a necessary content should be included. So whatever the content which is very necessary, that shall be included, and rest would be excluded. So it also saves the time, cost, and energy of a researcher. So it is also very necessary to consider all those points which should not be missed to include in a report. Next one is comprehensiveness. Report must be complete. It should not be, you can say, misled. It should not be incomplete. So whatever the necessary content has to be included, it must be included. So it never contain any enough detail in every which portray an entire meaning. Cost consideration. It must be prepared within the budgeted amount. In fact, that every reports need funds, and the researcher will prepare in advance that what would be the exact funds would be needed to prepare a research report. So it accordingly, the one of the principle is it should be prepared within the limit, within the budget limit. It should not result into the excessive cost. Next one is accuracy. Research report must be prepared carefully, and it must be free from spelling mistakes, you can say, or a grammatical errors. It should avoid in the report. The next one is objectivity. Report must be free from any personal errors or any personal base, especially the statistical errors. So it must be free from all the personal errors or likes or dislikes as well. So the report must be prepared from the in and by following up the impersonal approach, which is mainly based on the facts, which doesn't involve the researcher personal likes or dislikes in a report. So it also portray a better truth, a better meaningful evidence in the report. The next one is clarity. Report must reveal the facts very clearly. Even the contents and the conclusions drawn must be free from all the errors, from all the inefficient evidences, and in short, whatever the outcomes comes, and it conveys the clear-cut implication in a report. The next one is preciseness. Research reports must not be unnecessarily lengthy. It should be cover all that particular description which are educate, and whatever the necessary parts will be included or must be included in a report. The next one is simplicity. Report must be very simple to understand, and in fact, the unnecessary technical words or terminologies, especially the jargons, should be avoided in a report. Proper language. Researcher must use a suitable language which is very readable to the readers, and the language should be selected as per the target users only. Reliability. Research reports must be reliable. Manager can also trust on it, and it can be convinced to decide on the basis of the research response only, or you can say the post that will be used by the researcher, it must be reliable to include into a research report. Next one is proper format. So even the ideal report is one which follows the all the particular procedures or the steps or the format, a prescribed format which has been made. It follows an ideal report called for. So the researcher must follow whatever the procedure has been made up for with the contemporary practices. It also follows if the new format has been you can say formulated or implemented. Otherwise, in the mid of the report, a new format should not be used in any way. The next one is attractive. The report must be attractive and appealing, not in terms of the written form, but also in the presentation as well. It also includes all the important aspects such as size, color, paper quality, and similarly, it should also use the charts, diagrams, the presentation in the form of bar diagrams, you can see figures, charts, illustrations, pictures, and multiple colors as well, which looks attractive to the readers, and it can be appealing to read from start to end. Next one, then the next is types of research report. There are various types of research reports. The main types of research reports which has been included in this particular session. The first one is long report and short report. These kinds of reports are very clear. As the name, it's already been suggested, long report and short report. When it comes to the, you can say short report, it would be covers in 2 pages, it would be covers in the 3 pages in terms of called a memorandum. You can say under memorandum of understanding. So that's called a short report. When it comes to the, you can see a detailed report, or you can see you can see a number of pages has been increased, and it's generally in a written form or in an informal manner. Such report is called a long report. Next one is internal and external report. Internal report, when such reports are getting ready or has been prepared and circulated within the organization or a group of people, or you can say within the office settings, it's called internal report. When it comes to the external report, when such report is circulated and prepared within the organization, but circulated in outside the organization, or you can see, for example, annual reports of the company, which is being distributed outside the organization, and sometimes we can also call it's called public reports. Then the next one is vertical and lateral report. When we talk about the vertical report, it always focused on the ultimate target. In such report, it's for your management and it's for your mentees. That's called the vertical report. So when the direction comes from the directors, or you can say the managers, it is also called the vertical report only. When it comes to the lateral reports on other side, so it assists, it is such report will also portray or prepared within the coordination of the organization. When the report is circulated between the finance department to sales department, or the report is circulated between the purchase department to finance department, or production to finance, or it transferred into different department, one to second department. Such report, it's called the lateral report. So which always focus focus or in maintaining the coordination in the organization. The next one is periodic reports. Periodic reports are such reports which is being prepared or as per the pre-scheduled dates. In most of the cases where the direction comes from the management or board of directors, and such reports has to be made accordingly. For example, annual reports, for example, the government meetings report. So the structure is being made by the organization itself. Sometimes the reports is also portray the exact meetings, what was the exact scenario of the meeting, which has been you can say organized annually, quarterly, or half yearly. So such reports are called periodic reports when it comes to prepared according or over the period of time. The next one is formal and informal reports. Formal reports are those reports which are, or in other words, we can say it has been prepared in a very structured manner. They focus on the objectives, organization, and very deeper details it includes. and the written manner, it should be very formal. Even the writing style is very formal, so there is no space of any personal beliefs and opinions and views in such formal reports. When we talk about informal reports, they are the short messages like free flowing and casual use of languages, which we, let's say we had a conversation between the friends or between the new to old friends. So the language that we use is informal. So in the same manner, in the informal report, the language are informal and it describes the internal reports or memorandum in an informal manner. For example, a report showing your peers or a report for your small group or a team, that's called the informal reports where the language is not formal. We can use a very casual way flow of the language. Same in the emails also. The next one is informal report. Informal, informable reports like attendant, you can say reports, annual budget reports, monthly financial reports. So, which always carry some objectives to fulfill, which always carry some objective based information from one area of an organization to another area of an organization on a large scale, or you can say from one department to another department on a larger scale, and that's called the informational report. The next one is proposal report. These kinds of reports are like an extension of an analytical or problem solving reports. So whatever the problems are facing in the organization, that in such reports, the problems will be discussed in detail, and whatever the solution will be written in a very formal manner, so that in the within the organization it will be described, discussed or described in detail, and it also provides a solutions to a problem what they are facing within the organization or outside the organization. The next one is functional report. These kinds of reports, including we can say the subject area reports, we can say the finance report, you can say financial reports, we can say marketing reports, accounting reports, or any other reports which provides a function related information in detail. In fact, such reports will also provide almost of the categories which the organization is working for. So in fact, it also include a single report, or it also include the several kinds of report. The next one is descriptive report. Under descriptive report, researcher or a individual describe the facts, the trends, and the opinions which has been experienced or gathered during the research work. So a researcher under such report, the researcher whatever the faced either personally, or you can say they can also discuss the trends and opinions whether they experienced or not, or gathered the information during its own research work when they describe such particular parameters, and that's called the descriptive report. The next one is analytical report. As the name suggests, analytical, such reports are prepared with analyzing and interpretation the facts, trends, and situations. So it could be a live situation, it would be statistical trends, like for example, environmental trends, or any other facts related to real problems of the country. So such when such analysis and their interpretation would be done, and such in a particular report, such report is called analytical report. The next one is technical report. Technical reports when the exact procedure steps, or you can say a procedural steps would be used. Like for example, what methods has been used for data collection, what assumption, what would be the sample size, what would be the method of statistical tool has been used, and how the data has been presented, what would be the summary of the problems or the results while portraying a situation, based on the situation or portraying a situation, what was the discussion, and what are the parameters or the points which has to be discussed when it comes to the discussion part. The bibliography is how what references or what type of sources have been used in such reports, and that's called a technical report. So technical report, it's also follows the exact particular steps and procedures which a particular researcher need to follow it, like the summary, the nature of the study, the methods used for data collection, like sample size, sampling technique, which I already discussed in the earlier lectures. Data also, that what type of data has been used, the primary data or the secondary data, what the methods being used for the data collection, and how you analyze the data interpretation or the presentation of the data, and you can see the what would be the findings and how you conclude your whole research work, and then the last, what the type of sources has been used in a whole technical report. Technical appendices, what would be the you can see the questionnaires has been used, what would be the mathematical calculations, like for example, when whatever the sample size has been used, let's say 200, but we cannot take the exact 200, we have to use the statistical formula to calculate the sample size, and that sample would be used, and that's called the mathematical deviations, or the calculation is being used, and how you elaborate and which techniques has been used in the study. You need to elaborate in the appendices, that why you have, why and what parameters of the analysis, statistical analysis, such particular techniques has been used. Next one is index. So whatever the index, the data in the codings, we have to show at the end of the report, which is called a data sheet, which is called a master sheet of a whole data on which the analysis has been done. The next one is popular report. Popular report, which also gives a focus on simplicity and attractiveness. So the language, the report must be very simple, and it always shows a clear understanding, minimization of the technical and mathematical details. It's a very liberal to use the charts and diagrams, which shows your exact meaning, what the exactly the report stands for. That's called the popular report. So popular report is also portray the practical aspects and the policy implications as well. So when we talk about the human resource policy, what would be the changes in the compensation, what would be the changes in the remuneration, what would be the policies which is being made for the harassment clauses, all such reports. When a report is to be made on the popular or the practical aspects of the organization, and accordingly with their implication, such reports are called the popular report. So it is very important to understand that which reports a particular researcher and you is actually following up in your research work. So it is also equally important to understand what would be the format, or what is the format of a research report. So let's begin with. This is a particular report which is being divided into three parts. The first part is a formality part, like would be the cover page, a title page, a certificate, or a statement. Index, what would be the brief contents, like literature review, introduction, background, research objectives, operational definition, research problem, need of the statement, research statement, in other words, conclusions, and what would be the summary of your first chapter. So that's called in the first part. That is a formality part. In other words, we could say acknowledgement, list of the tables and figures or the abbreviations used, preface or forwarding, or you can say the introduction, you can say chapter, Then it's come to the summary. So whatever the introduction chapter stands for and whatever the introductions has been portraying or conveying for, so that is the summary report has to be followed in a short conclusion. That would be the cover up in the first part. Let's talk about the central part of the report that would be, in other words, we call it's a main report. The first one is the restatement of objective. That means your objectives, the what would be your objectives of a particular research topic or a research problems. Then what would be the research methodology? Like it would be research approach. What would be the research approach? What would be the research design? What would be your sample size? What would be your sampling technique to be used to collect the data? Right, so this is all about under main report. Types of data, it would be the secondary data, it would be the you can see primary data or a mixed approach. Sources also, that what type of sources of data would be used. It would be the you can say national agencies data, or you can see the government statistical data, or a primary data where a researcher will collect by own self from the respondents or from the participants which is being included in his or her study. The next one is sampling decisions. What would be the sampling techniques would be used? It would be probability sampling techniques. It would be the non-probability, or it would be the cluster. It would be the multi-stage. It would be the stratified sampling. It would be the simple random sampling. A particular researcher has to choose according to his own or her study. Data collection methods. It would be the direct, it would be indirect. The next one is data collection tools. It would be the observation tool. It would be the survey tool. We can say it would be the cautionary tool. So that is the tools that particular researcher has to decide upon. Field work also. Then once you decided what would be the tool, you please go ahead and visit to the field and just collect the data from the participants and the respondent that you have targeted for. So the next one is the analysis and interpretation of the data. So whatever the data has been collected by the researcher, so the next step is how to analyze that data, how to code that data which is being converted into an organized manner. Then once the data has been organized and tabulated, then the next step is to interpret it. How to interpret it? It should be interpreted through tables, diagrams, figures, all that steps a particular researcher has to follow up. So once the analysis and interpretation of the data has been done, the findings of the study has to be focused on, and it should be very clear in his her report. So once the findings has been concluded, the limitations, right? What would be the limitations of your study? And it is very important to include, because it doesn't necessarily that every report shows only the positive side. It also shows the negative side, and that stands for limitation, which is very important and essential to include. Next one is conclusions and recommendations and any other relevant detail which a particular researcher can mention it. The next is additional details is also included in the research report, like copies of the forms, like ethical form, you can say the permission letter of the college or university, are included in the findings, and the page numbers that also tabulated or shown into tabular form, that also comes into appendix. A copy of the cautionary, that on the, it is true that you have collected the data, but you have also made the cautionaries also, and accordingly, and that cautionary form is to be attached in an appendix section. Detail of sampling and rate of response, that also attached in the appendix. Statement of expenses, that whatever the expenses has been you can say invested or generated, you just mention a statement that these are the list of the expenses, miscellaneous expenses, contingency expenses, convenient expenses, mention into under appendix section. The next one is bibliography, that whether what type of which books has been used as a source or magazine or the journal or research journal articles or any other reports which has been used in a report. Just mention the source or reference under the bibliography section or any other relevant information if necessary. A researcher can include under appendix section. This is the key parameters or a factors of the which has a researcher need to implement and follow up in his or her research report. The next is objectives, type of the problem, nature and type of the research, the what type of audience and users has been used in his her research work, size of the report, it would be the short report, it would be the lengthy report, form of writing, it would be handwritten, typed, and computerized. It is very important to consider these factors. Time and cost is also very important factor to consider. Language, it would be simple language, it would be advanced, or it would be complex language. And according to the target area or target users. Contents of reports, so whatever the content is the exact the basically the points, or you can say the key points which is need to be focused or related to the research topic. Then the order of the contents. The contents is like the chapters like introduction, literature review, risk materials and methods, then the data analysis, interpretation, discussion. We can see the findings, then summaries and results, then conclusions. So this is the order of the contents which is followed, or the factors which is being followed by a researcher. Number of copies, that how many copies of the reports needed. Then the format, it would be the type and size of the page, the length, width, depth of the report, even the font size including paragraph, intent, numbering, fonts, type, and coloring. This all matters because that is the format of a research report. And the and is binding. It would be soft, it would be hard binding, it would, you have to check upon the type and the quality of the material and the color and the related issues when it's come to the soft and hard binding as well. But as I told, the research report is always have most of the positive side, but always have a limitations as well, especially the sample size. So for a short sample size, it is very well to do a survey. But when it comes to the long sample size, it is very difficult to survey it, and doesn't necessarily the same results belong to the whole population. Access to data, you will not always able to get all the resources. Even you can't gather all the data from one resource, or you want to, or for your research, and it will take plenty of time. So your work might not cover every aspect. Next is lack of time. Sometimes it is also one of the limitation that the researchers don't have time. They might have the examinations, annual examinations, and along with that, simultaneously research work cannot be done. So that's called the one of the limitation, lack of time. Financial resources, sometimes we need equipments or additional softwares to conduct the research, and it might be a problem with that we don't always have money or funds that we need for data collection. There are different ways to collect the data, like interviews, surveys, and questionnaires. But the way that the researcher wants to collect the data, it would be a real limitation because it takes time. It takes time to decide, and it doesn't necessarily get whatever the method the researcher uses, other interview, surveys, and questionnaires, the exact answers or the or exact responses or the results would come. It would come or it would vary as well. Method. So when you're finding a new information, you start researching on such a new topic or a new information, a specific research method a particular researcher use. So there are different methods which always given new opportunities to a researcher, but we don't know, but the researcher don't know the exact quality of that particular you can see information that they and of course the dependency on the method that the particular researchers choose is also one of the limitation if the researcher doesn't have a prior knowledge of such methods to use in his her research work. The next one is footnote. Footnote is also an important when the particular researcher is preparing for his master's and the PhD thesis. So footnote is a note that is placed at the bottom of the page. Sometimes the researcher is always involved in preparing the plenty of the paragraphs in his report, but the particular the references or the source is doesn't match or exactly says or cannot be included in the paragraphs. So the researcher decide to prepare a footnote that will be given at the end of the page so that it will portray a source or a reference or a particular note which states exact relate to a paragraph, so a particular reader can easily understand that on what basis the researcher is trying to portray in his her paragraphs or the contents of the paragraphs in his her research work. So at the bottom of the page, a particular researcher could reprint the symbol or insert your comment. So a footnote is a reference and an explanation of a term, and it's a comment which is being given at the bottom of the page, and the footnotes are identified because it is in the text, it is portrayed or marked by numerical or a symbol. So it is mainly used in research papers and reports only. The footnotes is mainly acknowledge the work of others which has been used in its own original reports. Few footnotes usage rules. Footnotes are numbered consecutively throughout the research papers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Each question requires a footnote. So whatever the research questions, you have to put you can say footnote on it. Footnotes are always doubled spaced, and footnote are referred using the superscript number. So types of footnotes, it's like a normal separator, continuation separator, continuation notice, a content footnote, a copyright permission footnote. These are two main important actually, which has been to take care to use in the research report. Content footnote is providing additional information or reference that simplifies, supplement your information that you added in your test. A copyright permission footnote is also used to give a credit to the notice for a long quotations or tables and paragraphs. So when you are giving a quotations on the presentations of the you can see your interpretation and like in the form of tables and graphs, a foot that you can say you need a copyright of such. For example, that you have shown a data of a government agency's portal. That means you need a permission letter, you need a copyright permission letter to use that reference into your report, and that's called the copyright permission footnote. And such number and such letter reference number has to be shown at the end of the page. Footnote style formatting. So there are basically three main styles. The first one is APA, that is American Psychological Association, MLA, that is Modern Language Association, and the last third one is Chicago Manual. So mostly in the research reports or research projects, APA is mostly used, that is American Psychological Association. But when we talk about the Harvard reference, the MLA would also be used, that is the Modern Language Association. APA, it is a content notes or which will be used a superscript number that is also used at the bottom of the page with a note. MLA format for footnotes is very similar to the APA. MLA recommends a limited use of footnote. What is the difference between APA and MLA? APA requires a footnotes in a unlimited in numbers, but MLA, it's a very restricted, it's a very limited use of the footnotes. Whenever needed, use it. That's called MLA. So it doesn't necessarily the researcher, it is not mandatory or necessary the researcher has to put a footnote at each page of the report. No, it's whenever the necessary you could use MLA. So if you need it, then on every page you need to put on a footnote, you can use APA. Footnote format example has been given. The sample footnote, the test within the research paper. In fact, you can use the you can symbols, or you can use the manual of the Harvard referencing Chicago manual. You can also use for the using the footnote. So this is also the one of the example over here. So it is a well known that the patients who suffer from Crohn and colitis can have many deleterious symptoms. So footnote is like that to show up. Let's see the CCFA or dot organization website for more information about the symptoms that the Crohn and colitis patient may experience. So this is called the footnote. That if you want to know about the symptoms about this particular disease, you just visit on the website, and the website now the name has been given to you. Visit, you can easily find the symptoms and the what is the exact problem over here. Footnote, this is also the one of the variety of research. This is also one of the example. A variety of research suggests that developing the basic literacy skill in a early childhood can contribute to greater success in acquiring among comprehension skill later in schools. How this is the exact content that you have mentioned into your paragraph, but how you give a footnote of such important content. So this is a footnote. You have to mention the website. You have to mention the organization website or a government portal website, so that you just linked that particular information into that particular content. So which always show up in a footnote. For example, the response of the footnote is a variety of research-based articles and the ideas for developing early learning skills can be found on this www, whatever the website has been shown here, that is read or granuts to org, that is organization website. What is bibliography? Bibliography is a list of all the sources a researcher have used in his her research work or within the process of the research work. Bibliography should includes the 5 things over here: the author name, the title of the work, the name and location of the companies that publish your companies of the sources, the dates of the copies were published, and the page number. So when you have written an article and your article is again published into into a website or a journal websites or in the books, so these things that you need to add on in your CV. That is the author name, the title of the title of your research work, the name and the location of the journals which has been who have published, or the companies who have published your copy of the research works or the sources, and the date on which date your article has been published, and the in which page numbers your article has been referred or published. So this is called, and such things or such parameters is included in bibliography. So what is bibliography? Is a list of reference material that being involved at the end of your research report. And what would be the reference material? It could be any type of content, any type of music, painting, video, any type of nature of information. It would be the basic of what would be the included. It's a name, date, place, and the generosity of the material. So this is called all about bibliography. Bibliography is also known as work cited a reference list, which is orderly studied and referencing of book. You can see in your whole research, if you have seen in your research report, a citation has been used in the form of numbering, whether for example an author name has been written in the or reference name, author name has been given in the paragraphs, so there is a citation number has been given. It's like 1, 2, 3, and in the same manner the bibliography numbering has been done. Standard citation styles used in bibliography. Citation styles is already I mentioned over here. It's American APA, MLA, Chicago Manual of Style, and the next one is Council of Biology Editors. We can say CB. These are the citation styles which being used in bibliographies. So whatever in the whole report you are using the numbering in the using numbering style. So numbering style at the same way will be used in your bibliography. The same numbering will be used in the bibliographies as well. APA style referred to an American Psychological Association. It is an INTAST citation and a lot of references to document the sources. For it is already given the format that how the reference to be done. American Psychological Association, it is a name of the book or a journal. It has been published in 2010. What has been published? The publication manual of the American Psychological Association. It is the name of the book or a name of an article. Which edition? That is the 5th edition. Where has been published? It is a Washington DC. The author name that you have to put on. That's called APA style. Who have written this book? You have name of the author has to be mentioned. What is the format of APA style? That is author, year, title, place of publication, and publisher. So this is the you can say the manner, standardized manner which has a researcher has to follow up. This is the name of the author, the year, the name of an article or name of a book, that is MA, the publisher name. So this is the you can say citation referencing style in bibliographies. LMA bibliography, we have to use the author name, then title, then publisher, then date. So this is a format. You have to name of the, it's written over here, the author name, then title, then publisher and date. It's written. Hall Thomas is a name of the author. Court Cases is a name of the or you can say research work. FT Press is a Financial Times Press is a publisher, name of the publisher, date, that is year, that is in 2010 it is published. So this is a way how to referencing style to be used in your report under bibliography session. Next one is standard bibliography format. There is a standard bibliographies either for the book, journal article, and internet sources. So it depends that which reference style to be used. If you're using APA, you have to use the format accordingly. If you're using an MLA, you have to use the format accordingly. Otherwise, you can use the standardized bibliography format, which has been used in case of the book, in case of a journal article, or periodical reports, or in case of the internal sources. So this is a format. You have, when it comes to the book, you have author name to be mentioned, then title, then publisher, and the date of the publication. When it comes to journal article, it's the author name comes first, then article title, then journal title, then in which journal the article has been published, then volume number, then page, then the date of the publication. When it comes to the internal sources, internet sources, the author name, author, that along, if the author name is not being mentioned, the website name, then again title, article title, publication information, which version, it's a version 20, it's a version 2020, 2020, or 2021, or any other number, and date of publication, in which year the date the article has been published, and the location. If the location, it would be either DOI, it's a digital object identifier, or URL. So if you don't have any information on the website, just mention a basic information, the website, the article title, and just put the URL, website, portal, link. It's well enough in the internet sources. Next one is, what is reference? Reference page is the last page of an essay or a research paper which is written in APA style. In the most of the researches, in the most of the subject area, at the psychology, biology, sociology, zoology, commerce, management, engineering, APA style has been used. So it depends to universities to university the which style they are referring for, or in giving informed to all the learners. But under the universities or under the research reports or project, APA style will be used. References can be described as giving credit with citation or to the source of information which being used in his own work. So references is also another way to give in or evidence to support all the assertions and the claims in your own assignments or works. So it should always be accurate and allowing your readers to trace the sources of information. And in fact, a researcher can use the references into their own upcoming projects, into all upcoming reports as well, within the organization or working outside the organization. So it is one of the most important part of the report, the reference and the bibliography. So under bibliographies, the referencing styles to be used. But under the report, what is reference page is the last page of your research paper. Referencing style, these are the styles is APA, Chicago Manual, Harvard referencing style. It is one of the best referencing style when it comes to the giving a reference to your research work. That's called the Harvard referencing style. So it depends that whether the American Psychological Association APA style would be used in Harvard references. Anyone can be used. Modern Language Association, which is mostly used in linguistic and the literature's reports. Vancouver, this particular style will be used in health science, medicine, and natural societies. IEEE will be used when it comes to the electrical and electronic engineering or computer science reports or projects. So every style is portrayed the different size, different types of the subject area. So if you talk about American psychological, economics, commerce, management, educational science, health science, psychology will be used, such style will be used. Chicago, when it comes to the it's humanities, we can say. Harvard, it's come to many discipline. In fact, all discipline could say. Modern language is literature and linguistic. Vancouver, health science, medical science. IEEE, engineering, computer science. So these are the reference styles, and based on your specialization, based on your stream, you can use such styles. And in fact, different academic journals use different reference style. When we talk about IEEE, their reference style is different. When we talk about Vancouver, the reference style is different. So it depends when it comes to the journal's publication, when your article is being published into a journal, the reference style is something different. If I use APA, the journal will use Harvard. The journal we use will opt Vancouver. So accordingly, we have to references our bibliography so that I can or we can refer, we can give a source of information, or we can cite our own research work of a report. Namaste to all. This is the last, you can say, topic, important topic, a very important topic of a whole program, that is called a research report. So this is the exact parameters that a particular learner, researcher will follow up while making a research report. A prescribed or standardized form which a particular researcher or individual has to follow in his own manner, a standardized manner, I could say. Namaste to all, and good luck for your examinations.